So South Carolina has quietly become one of the fastest growing states in the country. But what if I told you that not everyone who moves here ends up loving it or even liking it? So that's why in this video, friends, I'm going to break down the 5 biggest reasons why some people regret moving to South Carolina and why you might want to listen to this and think twice before relocating here. Now, toward the end, be sure to stick around because I'm going to reveal 3 of the states that many people are moving to instead of South Carolina for many of these same reasons, as well as 2 cities within South Carolina that a lot of people are moving to that are avoiding a lot of the downsides that I'm about to mention. I am James Lanius. If you've not watched any of my videos before and my wife's, go ahead and pat yourself on the back because I want to welcome you to our channel. And if you have any real estate needs or you need help buying, selling, or investing in the Carolinas, or even just have general real estate questions, go ahead and reach out via the phone number on the screen. We would love to help guide you on your real estate journey and just be there for you and connect however we can. We love hearing from people that call and text off of our YouTube channel. I talk to people every day from it, and we would love it if you were the next person. Now let's go ahead and dive into 5 of the biggest reasons why a lot of people are avoiding South Carolina. Okay, so this is how the video is supposed to look. Sorry, I zoomed into my face too much, but I think it was a really good video with good content. So please bear with me and disregard the fact that, anyway, enjoy the video. The first thing I want to mention is that property taxes are low, but insurance costs can be high. You know, people, this is a big deal because South Carolina does boast some of the lowest property taxes in the country. That sounds great, right? But what catches many newcomers off guard is that rising costs of home insurance. Homeowners insurance, especially near the coast, is super high and rising rapidly, and there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, hurricanes, flooding, and windstorm risk drive premiums up. I mean, some folks pay, upwards of $3,000 to $5,000, even more if you're on the beach, per year, depending on the location. And it's just getting a little bit crazy. And you are going to save money on taxes, but then hand it right over your insurance broker or company. So just something to be aware of. And you might want to weigh your pros and cons depending on what part of South Carolina you're looking to move to. Now, the second con I want to mention is that infrastructure and traffic are falling behind the growth. This is one of the biggest things that you can see in South Carolina, especially because of the growth in the last 4 or 5 years in the Southeast in general. And South Carolina is growing super fast, especially in areas like Greenville, Charleston, Rock Hill, and Fort Mill, South Carolina. Roads, transit, and city planning are not keeping up at all. They're really struggling to keep up in a lot of places, unfortunately. Good problem for some, not a great problem for some people who are looking to move here and have a place. But commute times are increasing. If you have to commute for work, rural highways are getting more crowded. Public transportation is limited or non-existent in many parts of the state, and highways are just having increased traffic. I remember the first time I came to South Carolina and I had to drive from Charlotte, Fort Mill area down to Greenville area. And my goodness, the traffic was bad. And then, I drove the same way like 4 or 5 years later. There was still construction on the highway. I'm like, is this ever going to be finished, whatever they're doing? I think they're trying to expand it, but I was like, oh my goodness. But anyway, it's true kind of across the board. Now, don't get me wrong, because there is a ton to love about the Palmetto State, aka South Carolina. But if any of these challenges sound like deal breakers, don't worry, because hang on till the end. I'm going to share 2 cities in South Carolina that avoid most of these issues and have some amazing incentives and reasons to move there. I'm going to also share 3 states that a lot of people are moving to instead of South Carolina that you might want to consider looking at instead. Now, let's go ahead and jump to number 3 reason why a lot of people are avoiding South Carolina this year, and that is that income levels and job markets are not for everyone here. I mean, South Carolina's economy has grown and is growing a ton, but wages do remain lower than the national average, which is a bummer because if you're in tech, media, or finance, job options might be really limited, especially if you're not in one of the few big metros within South Carolina. So that's definitely something to consider if you're moving here for work. If you're moving here and need to find a job in a certain field, you might not make as much as you would in, a bigger metro city like Charlotte or Atlanta or obviously New York or San Fran or something. And some areas are heavily dependent on manufacturing or tourism, which is of course great for some if you are in either of those industries. But even if you are, they're probably going to pay less than some of the bigger cities, but really not ideal for long-term growth in every single field. So be aware of that. Make sure you do your research ahead of time and ask, questions as you need. And I want to also mention the median household income in South Carolina is around $63,000, whereas the U.S. national average is $75,000. So $12,000 less than the national average is pretty rough. And, as South Carolina grows, that will improve. But right now, if you're looking to move to an up-and-coming area in South Carolina, that might just be the reality of it, but maybe in 5-10 years, we'll be right up there with those other places. Now, fourth con, or a thing I want to mention, is that healthcare access and quality vary widely in South Carolina. In a lot of major cities, you're going to find good hospitals and specialists, but in many rural or suburban areas, it might be tough to access care that is super high quality, and it just can be limited in a lot of these, exterior outside towns. Now, this is kind of a troubling fact I'm about to say, but South Carolina does rank in the bottom 3 nationally for healthcare outcomes, especially for chronic disease and preventative care. So that's pretty rough, unfortunately. And maybe not all hospitals in South Carolina are, known for this, but there are some, especially in those rural areas. Retirees and families often feel nervous once they realize how far the nearest quality facility can be, or how close the specialist that they need is to them, or at least a quality specialist. They might have to drive 3, 4, 5 hours, maybe even out of state if they need to find a really good specialist near them. And sometimes you're going to find more urgent care clinics than grocery stores, but neither is open when you need it to be. That's just kind of the reality right now. Now, last con I want to mention is that quite literally the weather here is not all sunshine and rainbows. Yes, winters are very mild. They're not nearly as hot and humid as Florida and some of these places, but to some, they are pretty brutally humid, especially in the southern part of the state. And you're going to be dealing with mosquitoes the size of small drones. In some places near the swamplands of South Carolina, you're going to have a lot of regular thunderstorm warnings and hurricane anxiety if you're near the coast. I will say that there are not a ton of hurricanes here, but you do have to be aware of them. They can't hit, and we do have them occasionally. Nothing like Florida, Texas, and the southern coast, but we do get them, so just be aware of it. Many newcomers do say that they didn't realize how exhausting a 95-degree day was with 80% humidity. Can't really understand that until you feel it. Of course, if you're listening to this and you're from Florida, you're like, let's jump change. If we get way hotter, way more humidity, but it is pretty hot, and we are really close to Georgia and Florida, so it's similar in line with those. So yeah, you're gonna be sweating, you're gonna be marinating in the summers here. It's just kind of the way it is. If you're in the northern part of South Carolina, you're probably occasionally gonna get a snow, maybe, but probably not too much. That's just the reality of the weather here. So the question becomes, is South Carolina a bad place to live? No, not at all. South Carolina is great, but it's definitely not for everyone, as I hope you've kind of gained from this video. Because if you are moving for sunshine and affordability, but aren't ready for traffic, rising insurance costs, lower wages, then these things are seriously something you want to consider before packing up the moving truck and coming down south. Now, what are some of those states I mentioned at the beginning that many people are moving to instead of South Carolina? Well, the first one is Tennessee, especially in places like Knoxville and Chattanooga, because you have some pretty good affordability here and some really strong job markets. A little bit cooler if you're not quite used to the southern heat yet. Another state, of course, is South Carolina's big brother, North Carolina, and cities like Charlotte and Raleigh here are super popular and trendy. You get a little bit of a cooler climate, less humidity. You have much higher incomes and income potential here, and a lot of low taxes in a lot of ways as well. Georgia is the third state I want to mention that a lot of people are choosing over South Carolina. Cities like Atlanta and Savannah give a more urban or coastal feel with wider career options, a little bit more money potential to be made there. So that's why a lot of people are choosing that state. Now, I want to mention 2 cities and great towns in South Carolina that many people are choosing that avoid most of the cons and a lot of the cons that I just mentioned. The first one is Fort Mill, South Carolina. My family and I have lived here personally. It's right on the North Carolina border of Charlotte, and it is an amazing town, really cute historic downtown, modern neighborhoods, some of the best schools in the entire state, and really good taxes there as well. If you live in Tega, South Carolina, which is a small town in Fort Mill, it's one of the most desirable and move to areas in the entire, state of South Carolina and the entire Greer metro of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, the second city I want to mention is Greer, South Carolina, and I believe my dad was actually born here originally. This is just outside of Greenville and has a lot of growing job opportunities, walkable the charm. Fewer insurance headaches than coastal cities. It's a great little town just outside of Greenville, which is super popular. Great places to move. So if you're making a move to any of these suburbs or cities or states, go ahead and reach out via the phone number on the screen. I get calls and texts every day from people just like you looking to move to my town and looking to learn more about real estate and about money and finance and about what the Carolinas has to offer. So if that's you, just go ahead and reach out. I'd love to connect. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it in the bottom right, the little thumbs up button, and subscribe to my wife and I's channel for more content about the Carolinas and about real estate and everything in between. We would love to connect with you. And the question I want to leave with you and that you can answer in the comments is this: what is one thing that would keep you from moving to South Carolina? I would answer that in the comments below. Otherwise, hope you have a blessed day. Look forward to talking to you soon.